रोज रोज बोझ में जार मदनो दादी जाने छस हाबे मार मदनो.
I had a chance of flying over Wular with one of the specialists, Dr. Helmut Cross from Australia, who had come on a government visit, and he was looking. It was winter, and all we could see in Wular was a cunette of water running in the center with mud banks on the other side, and his first question was, where is Wular?
The Wular Lake, said to be known as Mahapadmasar in Nilmat Purana and Bolor by Al-Biruni, is situated in Bandipora district of Jammu and Kashmir. Designated as a wetland of international importance under the Ramsar Convention in 1990 and holding the title of being one of the largest freshwater bodies of Asia. In addition to act as a habitat for migratory birds, Wular Lake, along with its wetlands, acts as a huge absorption basin for floodwaters, thus playing an important role in the hydrograph of Kashmir Valley. It is fed by river Jhelum that rises at the foot of Pir Panchal mountains from a beautiful spring called Verinag.
Unfortunately, this scenario all along the Jhelum, from Verinag up to the Wular and beyond Wular up to the Udi. Wherever there is a town on the river Jhelum, the people, the society and the government feel it very easy to dump the solid waste into the, and the liquid waste also, untreated waste into the river.
Since we do not have any proper sewerage and drainage systems in our cities or towns or even in these villages so far, due to which the quality of water of river Jhelum has considerably deteriorated and is right now very highly polluted.
So, what about the steps taken by the authorities for the treatment of this garbage?
Tell me which town on the river Jhelum has a solid waste or wastewater treatment plant.
Darya Jhelum's manz tamam Srinagar pethu yitkin sa chot chu vasan latrine chu vasan ti chu vasan aithmaz.
This spoils the ecology of water bodies and rivers, and the outcome obviously is detrimental to the whole ecosystem. But who actually is responsible for all this messing up with nature?
All of us, you, me, as a society and the government are responsible for this.
This deliberate and perpetual dumping of sewage and garbage into the river Jhelum shows our love and respect for nature. A part of this respect settles down to the riverbed of Jhelum, and rest it takes along as a gift from we people to Wular.
So whatever you are finding here, it directly reaches the Wular Lake.
Now whatever with it, the nutrient load from the entire Kashmir, the sediment load, all gets carried into the lake.
As if this was not enough to cause seemingly progressive deterioration of Wular and its ecology, the garbage dumping in Nuiskol area of Bandipora is doing the rest.
So municipality travan ch Bandiporas tachi vanan asas Nuiskol. Suchiva Lankrishi Poras to Dachi Gamas Manzbag.
जो भी गार्बेज वहाँ से निकलता है बांडीपोरा टाउन में वो सब वॉलर में जालवन की तरफ वहाँ लंकुशपोरा में डाल दिया जाता है. गाड़ियों पर भी लिखा है सेव, मगर वो महदूद है खाली लिखने तक ही.
तो वो कसा जमीन शिमो एट ए टाइम करमस आवर यपर समा अबी आवलस मंज बरयु मकान सही छु तो वो तो यते तिमन 5 वरी नेरन जमीनस 5 कनाल 2.5 कनाल जमीन शिमो आवर करम तो वो इन वलिस कोमस क्या जवाब दिमोस
यति जमन हो सकर पेशाब ट्राश करा साफ डायरेक्ट और अना लगा सो पहले पाइप
यति ची सदान वाडन छोट रेतवादन त्राव रेतवादन पछिम लागा कसम खतर जेसीबी पछ त्रवस पेट मिस.
Nobody is supposed to throw any sweepings, any solid waste in any of the water bodies. Not to speak of trucks hauling solid waste to the dried portions of Wular where water levels have receded and use that area as a dumping site. Not at all.
तमिक छुन वोलरस पे पेवान कह बल्कि तमिक सैनिस रोजगारस पे सैनिस सेहतस पे तमिक असरात पेवान.
बच्चे बना हुपर युन यपर सो मौसम बच्चे गिंदन वल इन्फेक्शन गसान
गम सारी आम इन्फेक्शन सत वल गाँव चोर मे ओतर ये तमो खेम लिफाफ पिफाफ बस गए इन्फेक्शन तो मूज.
All these wetlands and water bodies, other than hydrological functionalities, have a very important, function, that is to provide services and goods. And there is a particular section of the people whose livelihood is dependent on these lakes. They have been directly hit by the actions that all of us do.
At pe wunkenas ase zitra tabka go mahi singar yim gair phut kadan su kana badras mus pan oskus chalamas beak padavar chu atmas nadur بیاکھ طبقہ چھُ ماہیگیر طبقہ یِمن منٛز گاڈٕ ترٛکھ چھِ رٹان سُہ چھُ بازرس منٛز کٕنان پنُن روزگار چھُ چلاوان بیاکھ طبقہٕ چھُ اتھ منٛز یُس گاسہٕ کھوٚر چھُ یا نر چھُ کڑان سُہ چھُ زٔمیٖندارس کٕنان نیبرٕ کنۍ کٕنان سُہ چھُ پنٕنۍ اَن ژور زینان.
ییٚمہِ ساتہٕ پگاہ جوٗنس منٛز آب چھُ یِوان مے جوٗنس منٛز چھُ آب ہُران جُلایس منٛز پتہٕ چھُ آٹومیٹِکلی یہِ آب نِوان پانس سۭتۍ سورُے یہِ ژھۄٹھ ترٛاوُن وۄلرس منٛز.
تمہِ ساتہٕ چھِ تتھ منٛز ووٚتھ یِمن سارنٕے چیٖزن پٮ۪ٹھ اثر اگر وٕنکیٚنس یِم نابوٗد چھِنہٕ گٔمٕتۍ کینٛہہ مگر غٲب گژھنس چھِ سٲری چیٖز مطلب تیار.
اتھ پٮ۪ٹھ بچو لُکو ساس سٲلِم ختم ییٚتہِ گٔے دان زٔمیٖن اتہِ گوٚو پُلوٗشن چاروٲے ٲسۍ تِم تہِ موٗدۍ
وٕ چھِ أسۍ بیٖٹھمٕتۍ ہٲرِتھ أسۍ چھِ دپان چھُنہٕ بلاے أسۍ چھِ سڑنہٕ خٲطرٕ أنمٕتۍ خۄداین یتھ دُنیاہس منٛز وٕ سڑو امی سۭتۍ وٕ کیٛاہ کرو أسۍ چھِ آمٕتۍ مُصیبتس منٛز ہٮ۪نہٕ تہٕ کھٮ۪نہٕ.
Wular, contrary to being titled as one of the largest freshwater bodies of Asia, presents a grim picture of survival and health. And one wonders if the term freshness still holds any relevance to Wular Lake.
So far as the freshness of the water is concerned, it is no longer fresh. It is a eutrophicated water, it is a polluted water. It has almost become a health hazard.
Wunkenas yus wunkenuk aab chu to wunkenus wolur chu at manz agar kan at trai at manz sran kari तो हस्पताल बगैर सुनता सरचार की हैं.
अगर इंसान इसमें जाएगा तो वहीं पर मर जाएगा, इतना वायरस है इस पानी में.
अच्छा छना आब असल किन अच्छा छ गंदा आब अगर स्नान करो अच्छा छ हम से बीमारी फैला
आब छ वारिया गंदा अम आब से यीज बीमारी छ फैलमस अम से मोद मेज खंदा द्रामडा.
In addition to humans and produce of Wular, this malmanaged garbage and waste dumping is affecting wildlife and casting its shadow on environment too.
Yor छ जंगली जानवर ते बसान रातस अत छ शाल ते आसान अत छ हून ते अत छ काव ते अत छ अबी जान अत छ शिकार ते सोन गुपन ते छु य छ सोर ये बादरू की जार छोट वोट वोट य छ त यम छ जी खवार क्योंकि सरसे माहौलस पे छ अमिक असर.
Had we the realization how our negligence and apathy towards the water bodies and wetlands is causing innumerable beings suffer in multiple ways, we wouldn't dare or even think of doing any action that may cause even a little harm to these precious gifts of nature. The relentless sedimentation of the silt also has adversely affected the produce of Wular on mass level.
Us pakan asal magar yel karan os zain te mohni te ati os pakan rozgar. Weekend chun daryabas mas bilkul ki. So chu hakki gom. Ta chip gaadi pakan apariya po.
Woloros go hakki. Ta par chur kohot as weekendas rozgara chalan.
Samata ase karo to ka us lagmi musibat stavnas ma.
So far pollution is there and this shrinkage is there, and depth-wise also it has come down. It has adversely affected the production of the fish and nadru and water chestnuts.
Wunkenas governor Raj insani तौर छुस बह गुजारिश करान कि विजिट अकि लटि दिन तम नजर अगर यह गलत छु सोन रिपोर्ट मे दिन सजा मे थन जेलस अगर यह हकीकत अस कर इंसानियत सलूक.
With each passing day, the hopelessness and desperation is growing among the inhabitants of the area, who are directly affected by this uncalled human interference into the nature.
Amo afsara korn za garib sun koshbur khala khayala ki kyaj agar es khodaye pod kar ye afsar te kor khodaye pod ye kam khadr banaya ye afsar ye banaya garib sun garibas nazar din khadr magar ashnish nos vot nas garibas nish ki
ke na manan chat magar bush no ocho zui ocho buchin ka cheez as garib kya karo
कहीं अकान चुन सोन कथ बोजान पाँच वनी चुन कह
सोन तदोर क्या तुम करान सोन चार क्या सान अयाल पाई क्या तुम करान.
गरीबस निश वाता अफसर की वो गरीब दुनियादार से पता है गरीबस कोई नहीं मौजा कोई नहीं है.
हाईएस्ट लेवल पे क्या दावा गसान रेडियोस पे टीवीएस पे अखबारन मज ग्राउंड लेवल पे वुचतो तुम अस चारवाई सुलूक गसान
here the quality of life. It's not necessarily that we only count how many people die, because that is World Health Organization even has changed its kind of narrative and perspective, that it is the quality of life that matters when you see it from the health point of view also. So go and see the quality of life of these people.
तीज गरीबी में दुश्मन मे अड़ो वक्त पत की टोटल ना जनाब की
मे वनस पानस बच 3 तो ये दरिया कार त रूद कहें इंसान खुदकशी कर गर्ज यह परेशानी.
They are condemned to a living which is pathetic, which is painful, which is agonizing. So obviously, if somebody is asked to stay with them for a week or so, I tell you that he might be for not days, for weeks together, feeling abnormally impacted because of that poor kind of living standard.
Looking at the overall scenario, the Wular seems to have been put at receiving end by one and all. We need to wake up to the call and listen to the sobs and cries of Wular and its dependents.
कभी कभी मेरा दिल भी बहुत दुखी हो जाता है जब मैं देखता हूँ कि बाहर से टूरिस्ट आते हैं कभी इस वॉलर की सैर करने के लिए. उसने पढ़ा होता है किताबों में बहुत कुछ, जब वो यहाँ पर पहुँच जाता है तो उसका दिल वो बोलता है कि क्यों मैं यहाँ पर आया जब यहाँ उसको देखने के लिए कुछ नहीं है.
Apart from the menace of garbage dumping, the massive siltation going in the Wular Lake unabated poses a serious threat to its existence by shrinking its area as well as shallowing its depth. The dredging operations in the outflow channel of river Jhelum from Sopore to Baramulla was stopped for 26 years from 1986 to 2012. As a result, a lot of silt has filled the river regime and Wular Lake, which in addition to Wular ecology has taken its toll on functionality of Wular as flood basin too.
Wular essentially is a flood absorption basin at the head of river Jhelum, and it has lost its wetland feature where it would absorb a lot of water during floods and then it would release that water in lean flow periods. That wetland function has in fact got reversed.
If I come back to the 2014 floods, if you ask me the single most important factor, the reason for the high and extensive flood levels in Srinagar city was the Wular. The Wular pushed the waters, Wular because of the massive sedimentation.
There being two causative factors for this massive siltation. First being natural, for the reason of mountains here, which according to experts are young and prone to very high grade erosion. And second being man-made, particularly by deforestation at large scale.
About 30% of the volumetric capacity of Wular Lake has been lost to the siltation over the past 30 years.
Normally what happens in many of the third world countries, you do certain projects without considering the consequences.
One such project was Willow Plantation Drive within the Wular Lake few decades ago,
which were planted by none else than the Social Forestry Department. And that was absolutely a wrong step that was done, because you never plant trees inside a lake.
As no significant target has been achieved in restoring the lost capacity of Wular as flood basin,
we are still at the same level so far as the flood routing is concerned as we were after the 2014 September flood.
The Wular conservation project, though being there since long, is yet to yield any significant positive result on ground.
One nest wana prat kan cheez radio pe TV pe bolan chahe Wular bacha Wular bacha Wular bacha. It is sirf zabur. Beishun kihin.
Wular project karor budi ropi karan kharch. Tu wushi chi Wular si muz basan direct.
Government se seta dava karan ki Wular sa saaf karun Wular sa bachawun magar Wular gashne totamat saaf ki yutayni pet or at chhot vasun band has gais.
As we have seen, the implementation of the project is going at a very snail's pace.
In absence of any serious, on-time, well-planned project, the future of Wular might be easier to predict.
If it moves with the pace with which it has shrunk over a century, I feel it may take hardly 30 to 40 years in reaching a position where there won't be any water around it. It may change into a perfect stable wetland.
Despite being designated as a wetland of international importance and one of the largest freshwater bodies of Asia, makes one wonder if these titles or designations mean anything when it comes to preservation of these precious natural assets.
Unfortunately, the mindset is such that these wetlands, water bodies are treated as wastelands. The people, as individuals, as the community and as the government does not appreciate the importance of these wetlands. In and around the Srinagar city, we have lost about 22 wetlands to urbanization since 1970. We are facing the consequences of the neglect of the wetlands and water bodies day in and day out. How many people, how many of our political leaders, how many of our religious leaders talk about the deterioration of these lakes, about the importance of these wetlands in preserving the environment? That for me is an indicator that it is not a priority.
If the deterioration of Wular has affected almost all the aspects of life of the people dependent on it, how can we expect their education system to be intact?
दरिया गो यपर खुशक अत पे आज हेकान बच पारन अस गई बच मजबूर मजूर दो करने खतर
यस तनखा सह के करत यस नास युस गरीबी आस तास क्या बान
अस बच शौक परनाम खतर आमदनी हिसाब करान अत बचान कहीं तवे हेकान बच सो पढ़ कहीं
या बच्चे क्या लकड़ बच बह सोजन जनाब स्कूल मगर मे न सहर कह न वर्दी न जनाब कह अगर मे रपी दह आसान बह सोजन स्कूल
क्या करो मोल तो गरीब क्या करो
Apprehensions might have their own place, but we are not hopeless. We need to believe that for every problem, there has to be a solution.
In order to save the Kashmir Valley, I will say, and particularly the Srinagar city from the future high magnitude floods, one way to restore this lake is to uproot those trees on environmental considerations, on scientific lines with minimal environmental costs. There needs to be a dedicated, massive dredging of the Wular, and you need to do it on a priority.
That has to be done, and the authority has to do it, and the sooner they do it, the better it would be.
If you basically put in place an economic driven ecotourism plans for these, I think they will become self-sustainable. Government needs to think of making them both as an ecological assets and also centers of economic activity.
All these aspects have been addressed in the Comprehensive Management Action Plan, and the strategies have been already worked out. It's only a matter of being implemented on ground.
There should be a symbiotic relationship between the public and the government. It is not for World Bank. They have to integrate themselves in a very positive way, with a positive thinking. Then alone we can save it.
Wular sukha jaye re, jhelum bachaye na koye.
Hello everybody. First of all, let me thank all of you for watching my documentary, my humble effort towards conservation of nature. Not as a filmmaker, but as a commoner that I am, I would like to speak my heart out. Do we realize that nature can survive without us and would rather thrive without our uncalled intervention? But we cannot live without nature. Then why this apathy? Why this indifference? We need to change our lackadaisical attitude into enthusiasm, into zeal, into zest, to conserve nature in all its forms, not for earning brownie points or getting maximum likes on the social media. For that change to happen, we need to introspect with humble and honest heart. Only then we can expect a change, a positive change in ourselves, in our surroundings, in nature. I will conclude with an Urdu couplet. अंदाज़े बयां गर्च बहुत शौक नहीं है, शायद कि उतर जाए तेरे दिल में मेरी बात. Thank you.